and welcome to another Interstellar Modeler HFO. Today we're going to get to talk to someone who's pretty well known in the sci-fi modeling community. His name is Randy Cooper. Now most of us get to build models as a hobby, but he's someone who's had a unique opportunity to do this professionally, having had a very successful career in the film industry. He's going to share a little bit about that career with us and also show us some of his models. Let's go ahead and meet modeler Randy Cooper. Well, hey Randy.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for being on Interstellar Modeler.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
All right. I just want to start by saying, I've been a fan of yours for quite some time, just following your posts and stuff that you post online about your various projects. And I have to say, you just do some incredible work.
Oh, thanks for the compliment. I'll make sure you get that checked so people, for all the compliments.
For sure. Well, before we jump into your professional experience as a modeler, can you tell us, did you build models as a kid, and was sci-fi something that you've always been interested in?
Yes, to kind of give you an idea how old I am, I remember the moon landing. I seen Neil Armstrong walk on the moon, and my older brother, was really into models and the spaceships and all that stuff from rockets, Apollo rockets.
Yeah.
And so I'd go in and play with his rockets and really tick him off because I'd end up breaking them or something like that because mine never came out as good. But he kind of got away from modeling and more into girls, and I kept on doing modeling and got into girls later.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so I was really into 2001. That was very inspirational. And Lost in Space before I got to the age of reason. And Space 1999 is what really got me into start to scratch build models per se.
Yeah, right. Well, let's go ahead and dive into your professional experience as a model maker now. You sent me a list, an extensive list of projects that you've been involved with over the years, and I'll show the audience that too so they can see. But why don't we talk about how you got started in the industry, and then maybe we can move on to the first project that you worked on as an actual model builder.
Okay, yeah, there's a friend of mine named Frank Capello. He ended up being a writer and a director. He wrote the movie Constantine, with Keanu Reeves. That was his big claim to fame. And he wrote and directed some smaller films. He had a place he started in Florida, where I lived, and he built his own motion control camera system and everything. And he saw my models in a hobby shop there. And I built like a 37-inch Galactica from scratch back then.
Oh, wow.
It's about 18 or 19. And he really liked it. And so we got together, and he ended up opening an effects shop there in Florida, doing local commercials and all that, and I do miniatures. We did these things called the AMC Midnight Movie Express commercials. There's two of them. Look online, you can find them on YouTube. They're pretty neat and pretty imaginative. And that's how I got my start. Then he moved to California and talked me into moving out there. And one of the first movies I worked on was one of the greatest science fiction movies ever made, the hub of science fiction, called Solar Crisis. It's a terrible movie.
Yeah, I was going to say I wasn't familiar with
that. Yeah, pause for effect, So yeah, and that was at Boss Film. Yeah, that was the first job I ever worked at Boss Film, and I was also working for him because he had some smaller films he was doing there as well, like the ones I just mentioned. And so Boss Film, I worked there regularly for a while, and slowly I worked at like Stan Winston's, worked on AI, and was it Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines,
Wow.
And I won't list off all my movies, but my favorite one to work on was probably Starship Troopers and Iron Man 2.
Oh, okay.
Those were pretty fun, to work on. So,
now you listed Alien 3 as a model builder. Did you work on what did you do for that project?
Well, we had to do this what they call the Penal Colony City. And it was just like it was very dark and gray and had like all these long square tubes running through the refinery city, or whatever you want to call it. So I worked on stuff like that with John Eves. John Eves, would later go to work on Star Trek as one of the major, designers for Star Trek. So.
Now, one thing I've always wondered was how a model goes from concept to what's seen on screen. Can you tell us or give us a brief synopsis of the process?
Well, 80% of the time, if in the movie business, like to kind of give you an idea, on Spider-Man 2, I got along with the art director really well. His name was Jim Atchison, because basically he would just say, okay, we want the Doc Ock foot to kind of look like something really industrial. So he'd hand me some pictures of like bulldozers and stuff like that. And the next day he'd come in and see something new. And that's why I worked really well, since I worked fast. He said that's why he liked come in here, because every time he'd come in, I'd have something new for him. So I worked on the girdle and the foot mainly. The other poor bastards had to work on the tentacles, which is really boring. It's just all the same repetitious parts. So but that was kind of fun. So I kind of got to do what I wanted a little bit. They did give me sketches which were kind of, like I said, vague.
Yeah.
The hardest one is probably Stargate, the one with Kurt Russell, because they gave us blueprints. They had everything in blueprints.
Oh, they
Down.
did. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very detailed, and that sometimes you like to add your own little flair to it, and but it was still fun.
Now, I imagine many modelers would think of doing this professionally as it would be a dream job. Did you find that to be the case yourself?
Yes. Yeah, like I said, the best part to me, it was a dream job, not just because of the work, because like I said, work becomes work. It's like anything, but it's the people. Because you think when I first went there, so finally, so I'll show you how much I knew how it worked in Hollywood. Is I thought they'd be in like trench coats or like lab coats and all that, real clean cut guys. They're all wearing jeans and t-shirts, and playing jokes on each other. But yeah, I had a lot more to relate to when I moved to California. So that part I enjoyed most is working with everyone. It was a lot of fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and review a couple of your builds, and as we talk about them, if you could tell us a little bit about the build, or maybe any special techniques you employed, or any particular challenges that you had. So let's go ahead and pick one to talk about.
Believe it or not, my favorite design is, and I also made it to a kid, is the Phoenix. It's sort of a red-looking ship, and that's an old design. It's gone through so many. It's evolved so much since the 1980s when I first designed it, but I really like the design of it.
So when it comes to the materials, do you pull all that together from various?
Well, yeah, the materials, you use everything and anything, which like you'll see the wing configuration on it. Those are plexiglass. The rounded part of the body where the windows are, that was carved out of a high density foam and then vacuum formed with really thick plastic. Then I cut all the windows out so I could mold it, make it nice and thick, so the molds would be thick, And I've done I got quite a big wealth of parts library from all the movies I worked on, and they're not like parts you really recognize. Because when I started getting into the business, they said don't use parts you can recognize, don't use tank treads and stuff like that, like they did in the first Star Wars movie. Like the Millennium Falcon, you can see that there's tanks and car transmissions all over, and they were getting out of that when I started getting into it. So everything I have is very unrecognizable. So that was really important to with the exception of the engine on the Phoenix is a sprinkler head configured thing. You stick it in the ground, but it's actually the body of the sprinkler head that goes down into the ground. Got from Home Depot. It works.
So I bet you just walk around. I mean, a lot of us kind of do that. We walk around and think, well, that would look good as this, or that would look good as that, or Oh yeah. Yeah.
Everything and anything, and some things cool, some things you never want to tell people that you used, because they're kind of weird, but they have the right shape.
Well, then let's talk about the hopper. That was the one that was for sale by, is it Pegasus that
Yes.
that one? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So tell us how you came up with that. How did you come up with that design, and what inspired you for that? And
hamster ball.
A hamster ball.
Hamster ball, yeah. I built two of them. I built a smaller version, and I think I was getting fish food because I used to have an aquarium of fish, and I saw that round hamster ball, and I went, that's kind of a nice shape. It's already made and everything like that, and so I just used a hamster ball and just added everything to it. The second one, which is the one that the Pegasus Scifi based on, was bigger. It was a 14-inch one.
Yeah.
And at that time, I had a vacuum form machine, so you could take the hamster ball, or it might have been more like a gerbil ball. I don't know. At that time, a rat ball so big, and vacuum form plastic over it, so you could do all your plates and everything on it. It's reshaped, and then just start cutting away. And it was a better design as far as how the cradle works, the landing gear, because the other one was. I can send you. I think I have a picture of the old one somewhere. You can see the differences, but they're still. But it was very much a homage to 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
And with the hopper, at least the original one was. Now the hopper one, the one I built, I wanted to add a little bit of NASA to it, a little slant of NASA, like the color of the seats and like bags. Yeah, those white bags all over the place, and foil, mylar foil and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah. So it's a beautiful kit.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I was surprised that they made the same size, and I can't imagine what they paid for the tooling on that. It's kind of neat to see your model become an injected kit. Kind of strange.
Was that the first model you ever that was ever produced as a kit?
Yeah, first and last.
First and last.
Other than ones I do, the resin one, which people
Yeah.
have a fun time cursing at as they build it, which is fine. I always go by how much curse words people use on my kits to how good it is.
Yeah.
Because
Now,
they
one
can be.
one kit that you were showing recently online is the Back to the Future train.
Oh yeah,
Can you
right,
tell us a little bit about that kit?
yeah, this one
Yeah, right behind you
right
there.
there, right
Yeah,
there.
right.
Yeah, yeah, that was I just finished it about like 3 days ago.
Hmm.
That was as far as the history of it. There was a guy in Hong Kong back in 2002, about the same time I was working on Spider-Man 2, actually. He paid big money. He paid $12,000 to have one of those built,
Hmm.
but I had to build like three of them. So I built one for myself, one for him, and one for somebody else. So I think it was Greg Nicotero
Hmm.
because he had a lot of pictures of it, one not a reference, some reference. I shouldn't say a lot of reference. I take that back. Not like
Yeah.
there is now.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I built that and sent it to him, and I ended up selling mine probably about 10 years ago,
Hmm.
and I still had the patterns, thank God. And just decided, what the heck, let's bring it back. I'd like to have another one sitting on the shelf, and
Hmm.
that's when I started going through it, and people out there would send me nice pictures. They're better pictures, more reference,
Hmm.
and that's why it took so long. Because it was only gonna be like, okay, I got the patterns. It was gonna take like a month, maybe two, to get it ready and everything like that. It took 4 months,
Yeah.
because I'm a little too picky sometimes, I think. But I want it to be right. I want it to be accurate. So,
Yeah. Well, it turned out beautiful.
well, thanks, yeah. The materials, yeah, it's basically the round part was made out of a piece of PVC piping that I got, but
Hmm.
everything else was like totally scratch built. The main boiler body was machined out on the lathe, and
Hmm.
there's a lot of it was made out of what they call centra or model plank is another word for it. It's a modeling type of comes in big blocks like 2 inch by 18 inch by 12 inch pieces sheets of it.
Hmm.
And you cut it up, and it's kind of weird because it's soft but not soft, and it's easy to work with and
Yeah.
cut mill. It's great for milling. I don't know if you know what it is or not, red shape. But so that thing is about 90% wren shape. The patterns for it, anyways.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Well, we're going to get into the final segment of the interview here now, where I always like to ask five quick answer questions here. So let's go ahead and get started. Favorite model of all time?
uh, you mean personal or movie?
Personal, yeah.
A personal, probably. Oh, the Phoenix. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. And what is your favorite part of building? Is it painting, assembly, lighting?
I like to see it done. I don't really have a. It's because I've been doing it for so long. It's like I
Yeah.
like looking at it after I finished it. That's my favorite part. Is after sitting on the desk,
Hmm.
or desk or table or something like that, and going back and look at all the photos and where it started from, and saying two things. One, I'm glad I'm not here at this point.
Yeah.
And two, and it's just fun to see because it's weird when you build something. Sometimes you kind of forget a little bit, if that makes any sense. It's like, kind of like walking. If you explain to somebody how you walk, you can't do it sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just like, wow. So this is how I started. This is what it came out. And if I was to tell somebody that, what would I tell them? Well, probably like I'm telling you now. I don't know. So, yeah.
Now,
So
your wish list model. If you could choose a ship that you'd like to see made into a commercially available kit, what would it be?
wish list model. Believe it or not, there's if somebody did some really nice large scale models from the new Thunderbird show that's in Europe,
Hmm.
in UK.
Uh-huh.
It's called the new Thunderbirds Are Go,
Hmm.
and they kept the designs pretty close to being the same,
Hmm.
but yet modernized enough to make them really cool. The
Yeah.
Thunderbird 2 is really nice, or all of them, 1, 2, and 3, yeah, all of them. And of course, they just make kids' toys, and mainly probably the Fab One car they have,
Yeah. Hmm.
Lady Penelope's car.
Hmm.
That's a great Rolls Royce upgrade design. I
Hmm.
like to see those made as models. Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything in modeling that you still have left to try? I mean, you've been doing this a long time, so is there a detailing technique or a certain scale or anything that you have left to try?
Learning. I would like to try to get into learn how to do 3D printing.
Hmm.
I'm like Sam Neill from Jurassic Park. I'm terrible with computers. I touch one, something happens. So, as he says, they got it in for me.
Yeah.
But I would like to try to learn 3D printing software because I know
Hmm.
the hardware, machines are real cheap, but it's learning how to make the parts and everything like that. I think it would be better to do that because I'm noticing I'm starting to use more outside people, outside companies to do certain things like the time train. There's a little coil on the top. I
Yeah.
had, matter of fact, I forgot to recommend to people to buy that piece instead of, I sent them one, but it's crap. That's why I need to learn how to do it so I can make those kind of parts myself. And
Cool. And what sci-fi show has had the most influence on you?
as a kid, probably Space 1999.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what got me into models and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of like watching 2001, the TV show. At least
Yeah.
the first season. Second
Yeah.
season sucks.
Yeah. Well, as we conclude, I'm just going to throw a couple more compliments at you here. I'm just going to actually say that, I can speak for many modelers. I certainly can speak for myself in that, the type of work that you guys do really inspire a lot of people, at least people like myself anyway, to be creative. So whether we're just as a child as we watch them on screen, or even now as an adult seeing what comes out in these films, really serve as an inspiration for us. So I just want to thank you for the stuff that you guys do, the type of work that you do. And secondly, I just wanted to say too that I think it's really cool that you do make custom parts available for modelers like us. Particularly one I worked out well for me was the Hasbro Falcon toy conversion parts that you made. That really helped me out a lot. So I just think it's really cool that you take the time to
Sure.
modelers like
Well, it's funny because I never meant to do it as a kid. I was just doing it and putting it up on my Facebook page just to show people what I'm doing with the kit, and people just started asking me about if I made them. I was like, sure, why not?
Yeah.
So it worked out pretty good because I sold quite a few of them.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
I'm paying it forward because there's people that inspired me when I was younger. So I'm glad I inspire instead of make me. It's good to inspire rather than make them jealous.
That's right. Well, as we wrap up here, is there anything you'd like to say to the modeling community?
Keep buying my kits. I got to pay off my house.
There you go.
No, I'm just glad that they like the kits, and I don't try to build kits for the public. I try to build it for what I want to see on the shelf, and it seems to be what everybody else wants. So that's great.
Excellent. That's great.
I'll never do a medical frigate, so just to let everybody know, because somebody else does a nicer one now, or an Ed Walker. Those are two I'll never do from Star Wars. So don't bother me about it.
Well, thanks again, Randy. It really was a pleasure talking with you today, and I appreciate you taking the time to share.
Okay, it's nice talking to you too, and
great.
Take it easy, man.
Yeah, you too.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.